My name is Mustafa. I am technical office manager in the Osama Azraq construction company. We are designing and building data centers and construction activities in Saudi Arabia from 40 years. And my panelists are?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Konstantinos Athanasopoulos. I am the country operations director for Syska Hennnessy Group. We are a consultant for critical facilities and MEP, and our basic subject in Saudi is data centers.
Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Gaurav Mathur. I'm the Chief AI and Data Center Officer at JLL. JLL is a large commercial real estate firm, and we handle every aspect of the real estate, including developing data centers and driving AI adoption in the real estate industry. It's a pleasure and privilege to be here. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Stephen Yule. I'm the Director of Digital and Data for Jacobs in the Middle East. Really pleased to be here with you. Probably we'll talk a little bit about what Jacobs does and the interesting things we're doing around data centers. We've been involved with them for many years, but with the recent sort of explosion of AI data centers, it's a really exciting time for us. So pleasure to be here with you and with the panelists to share some insights.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jordi van der Heijden. I am the Director of Technical Operations for DataVolt, a Saudi data center owner and operator. And I'll be here giving you some insights on the developments from an operator perspective.
Thank you, and welcome again. So let's start with Gaurav. Gaurav, Saudi Arabia has become a digital hub in the last couple of years. And it's commonly, it is 345 megawatt, and its provisions planning to 2029, 855 megawatt. So what, from your perspective, what makes Saudi Arabia making leader in the Middle East? What is the strength of the capabilities as a design standards, energy strategy? What is driving this leadership?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think some of the answers, I was very keenly listening to the gentleman who spoke before me. Yeah, if you can turn off your mic. Yes, I was keenly listening to a gentleman before me, and I think he was answering some of this questions. So at the risk of not repeating myself, I think what Saudi Arabia is doing is pretty unique in terms of having obviously an ambitious vision, but also the execution rigor. And when I say the execution rigor, it's a combination of policy and regulations, and creating a platform for developing trust and transparency, fostering partnerships with global partners to ensure that there's a good balance between public sector and private sector investment. And the vision is not just to build the AI data centers or AI factories, whatever you call them, to cater to the local market, but it's to service, many other regions in the world. I mean, KSA is quite uniquely placed where it is geographically, where it has got subsea cables going to Europe, going to Africa, going to Asia Pacific. So the AI that's going to be generated here in data centers is potentially going to be consumed by by a number of countries in the globe. So that makes it quite uniquely positioned. There are some challenges as well and risks which need to be actively managed. We'll speak about that later in the panel. But keen to hear thoughts from other panelists as well.
Actually, what Saudi Arabia has here in data center is finance and other opportunities. Many other countries was having or have now. But we don't see this kind of leadership as leading his region in the data center investments in other areas, like other countries. So what Saudi Arabia makes is really different. You believe it is because of the vision of the 2030, or there are another reasons behind it?
I think obviously the vision has a big role to play, because AI can either be driven by demand or driven by policy. I think here it has been driven by policy, and then of course there is demand. Demand is an important aspect. Some of the demand is being underwritten by the public sector itself, like the massive gigawatt projects, etc. They're all going to consume a lot of AI. But it's also the vision to turn this country into, from an provider of oil to the rest of the world to being a provider of AI intelligence. That's the reason why 3 months ago from the UK, I moved to Riyadh, because I wanted to be at the center of where it is all happening. So it's going to be a big magnet for drawing the top talent from everywhere around the world, as well as developing local skills and capabilities to fulfill this vision. The execution becomes very important.
Just to add to that quickly, I think just to reiterate that point, and it's what I've seen ever since I started to work on projects and programs in Saudi Arabia, it's vision, and I think that's what probably differentiates the place. There is a vision, and that vision turns into action, so it is an exciting place to be, and these things will happen, and they will get built, and they will change the economy, improve the lives of people, but it is underpinned by a vision, which is what makes it exciting.
Thank you for your review. You came here at the right time, we can say. Again, I want to ask you, the kingdom is advancing rapidly hyperscale and sovereign cloud deployments. What lessons can be drawn from this success and how they can be replicated across enterprise and edge environments as per your experience between different regions?
Yeah, I think in terms of experience, it's key to be proactive about the key risks. And I think there are 4 key risks that need active management. One is power, the second is talent, the third is supply chain, and the 4th is demand. Now, an easy way to remember that is an acronym PTSD. Now, irrespective of what you think about PTSD, I really mean power, talent, supply chain, and demand out here. And that's a key lesson to learn, because if you have secure power, and when I talk about power, it's not just electricity, I'm using the term to even include other forms of utility like water, which in the desert climate, you need a lot. If you have secured power and if you have secured your land, then you have effectively de-risked a significant portion of your investment. Talent is key, as I mentioned earlier, to get the best talent from around the globe, and also to develop local talent and the skills, because end of the day, developing data center or running it is not just about using tools. It's about using tools in collaboration with humans who will make sure that the execution is flawless. Supply chain is key, because procuring the different parts, whether it is your chillers or whether it is your generators or power units, that's absolutely key to de-risk. And demand is key, because irrespective of the type of data center you build, whether it's a large data center to drive a lot of computation or training AI models or for inferences, you need to make sure that you have line of sight to the demand, which will help you get an ROI from the investment you're making.
Thank you. As you mentioned, you grouped a talented workforce and the power and the liquid cooling. So I want to ask to Mr. Kostas about liquid cooling, which he is the expert. As AI workloads intensify density and heat output, where does Saudi Arabia stand in adopting liquid cooling, waste heat recovery, or next generation and efficiency measures?
That's a very interesting point. I was in a discussion some days back, and someone mentioned that AI, through cooling, has influenced the landscape and changed thermodynamics. So what this means is that if you take 15 years back, a normal rack for that time, it was what, 3, 4, 5, 8 kilowatts. Then we jump on 12, we jumped on 15 to 20 when it was very optimized. And all of a sudden now we're talking about 60 to 100. There are discussions about 130. Next one is 1 megawatt. And I heard, if I'm not mistaken, 2 megawatt rack is coming. So the whole thing, it's not like it was utilized 5 years ago. So design should be different, power is different, density is different, space requirements are different. 2 megawatt racks, can we build it on ground plus one? I don't know. As an operator, you might say, but I think it's going to take a lot of different approaches to our everyday life. The second thing is that you do cooling, which means you take heat out. What do you do with this heat? You can either drop it or you try to utilize it. So can you monetize the heat which is considered lost. So can you make, for example, preheating of a desalination plant? Because if you build a 50 megawatt plant or a 100 megawatt plant, or I don't know, whatever else size we are speaking about, 1 gigawatt, why not to utilize it as a preheating for desalination plants? I know this is not Norway to have closed loops of heating cities, but there are ways to utilize whatever will be or is considered lost from cooling these sites. And the other thing is that Saudi is at the forefront of one thing, is a late adopter, which means that the installed base today is a legacy product, legacy data centers, whatever. So they have no need to do retrofit, to modernize existing or old facilities. So whatever they're going to build is going to be a new technology, new ideas, new design, progressing according to power, supply chain, talent, and goes on. So the thing today is that how you monetize cooling and heating. So you need to cool these massive installations, but don't lose the heat. So it is going to be quite interesting times in front of us.
So do you have any idea how Saudi Arabia can use this heat? Any options to using?
There are projects running around, but I think they're still on the initial levels. I haven't seen any results produced, but I would say with a very big certainty, they don't lack ideas. That's the sure thing that I can say. I don't have something tangible to put on the table today, but I do know that there's a lot of efforts to do a number of things, even for the reefs. If you go to Neom, they are utilizing the seawater to spray reefs and to change the climate over there. So there are a lot of things that are happening, but I think that someone needs to investigate and go deeper in the sector or the section he would like to work on.
Thank you so much. Jordi, as data center operator, let's discuss about some from your aid. To what extent are data AI-driven monitoring, automation, and digital twin technologies being integrated in data center operations? And what challenges remain in scaling them in Saudi Arabia today?
Okay. In all honesty, with all the systems we have around nowadays, in operations, the adoption and adaptation of operations is in its infancy when it comes to AI tools. We've seen AI integration with some of the larger hyperscalers, AI deployments, but in your conventional data centers, your hyperscalers, cloud, enterprise data centers, co-location, there is hardly any adoption of AI-driven operational intelligence. It is out there, and we as a company are certainly exploring it. It is a very interesting field because with the right adoption of AI tools, you can bring in a transparency into your operations, as well as a form of automation that can really help our day-to-day technicians in ensuring the uptime of a data center. That's really what we're after, right? Life cycle optimization, capacity planning, something that apparently is notoriously hard in our industry. I've yet to work for a data center operator that is got capacity planning nailed down, that is not overselling or underutilizing their data center. These are all avenues that we can explore with the integration of operational intelligence coming from AI. Another one is an idea that we're working with is an AI chatbot. If you have a good digital twin model, this will allow a technician or engineer to actually chat with your model and actually ask what are the consequences if I push this button, if I turn off this breaker, If I have a fault somewhere, what are the consequences upstream or downstream? But all of it comes down to having a good data model. And what I've seen, at least in my previous experiences, is we have all the systems that could be connected through an AI platform, but the data is all over the place. There is no standard. The BMS calls it Chiller 5. The CMMS is called CHLR 5. In the finance system, it's called something entirely different. And you have a very hard time integrating all your systems into a single AI tool that can help you and provide you that automation and transparency. So my advice to anyone, if you're going to start implementing AI tools, which I really think you should, look at your data structure and put a data governance board in place, a committee with policies and standards, and make sure that wherever you are building, whether it's in Saudi or in UAE or in the US, if you are an international company and you want to have good transparency from a central point like a HQ, make sure that everyone is aligned across all systems, across any asset that you're building anywhere. Otherwise, you'll have a hard time. It's detangling a spaghetti.
You mentioned models and data structure. So do you believe we can create a model which is from the time series model that we are using in the finance actually to predictive of the currency of the dollar and the gold rates in the market? So can we take the statistical data from the past years, what happened, and put this data structure in the right model and create the time series model without regression analysis? And then we can make a prediction of prediction analysis of the maintenance time, uptime time, or the downtime time. Can we make a prediction on this?
So the larger, more known OEMs, they have these systems in place. This will not be your software. You're buying it off them or renting it off them through your maintenance contracts, and they will inform you in time and give you that visibility. A system is about to go wrong. Where it becomes more interesting is if you take that in-house and you start monitoring the IoT sensors they provide in their equipment, and you tie it to your CMMS, so that when something does go wrong, your technician will get a ticket before it goes wrong. So not you get a notification from your OEM, hey, there's something about to go wrong, and then you have another person then creating a ticket. Take out all those human links and automate the process from where the fault is about to originate down to the person that needs to intervene.
Thank you. Steve, do you like to talk about this subject also?
Yeah, I'll try and be quick.
Some.
I feel like I could talk about it all day, but no, Jordi covered pretty much most of it. And I think what I would say is, and he's right, there are OEMs that will provide these, but I would always advocate you own your data, you fully control your systems. But it's about taking a whole life view. So as you're planning, as you're designing, as you're constructing, as you're commissioning, and then as you're taking into operations and maintenance, think about how you need data throughout that life cycle of development. As you're planning, what do I actually start with the end in mind, think about how I'm going to use it. What we're doing at the moment, and it's particularly accelerating. We've recently worked with NVIDIA to create their reference design for 1 gigawatt data centers. We're also supporting them with developing the Omniverse, which is an NVIDIA solution. So we are taking our knowledge as Jacobs as a consultancy that sort of works across the infrastructure lifecycle to actually really try and create real digital twins. Digital twins mean many things to many people, and there's a lot of people selling ideas. But really it's trying to say, well, how can you create a digital twin that allows me to plan and optimize? But what we're finding is that by working with the chip manufacturer, we're starting to understand, well, what's coming next? Because as we see, the pace of change is like nothing before. As some of the fellow panelists said, we need to be ready to scale and move with it. So that's where we're putting a lot of focus in, is on that, not just designing the data center of today or next year, what might be coming in 2 years, 3 years, so that you actually your data center doesn't become obsolete too quickly. So I think that's really important. But the main things for me are what really matters. It's about, as Jordi said, it's about uptime or availability. It's asset management. It's how do you maximize the availability of your infrastructure, And then the second one is how you optimize your infrastructure and, power, heat, all of these things. How do I monitor them? And it may be having a real-time sensor on everything, or it might just be monitoring the right things at the right time. And then the final one I'd just say on this is it's the actual connection. So hopefully you've got your asset hierarchies correct, you understand where everything is and how it works, it's being monitored. But then it's the ability to influence it, rather than having a dashboard that says we've got an issue, we need to do something, send a technician to go and do it. Why not connect that sort of last mile and actually be able to remotely make the change happen? And at that point, you're really starting to optimize and understand your infrastructure.
If I may add, I totally agree with what Stephen and Jordi said. And the interesting thing is that AI is driving both the demand and supply. So the demand for AI is driving the need to create these AI factories. And it's the same AI which will be absolutely essential to ensure things like the uptime is maintained or the operational efficiencies are achieved during both the construction and the operating phases. So, all the data center operators, they have to practice what they preach. If they're creating the AI that's going to be used, they've got to also use it to sort of, better run their operations.
Thank you so much. So we discussed about the data structure and the AI and how we can collect the data and upload to AI at first to get the true result from the AI. So with this structure, how Saudi enhanced the cyber security and reliance under this data structure models and without compromising the innovation speed what the Saudi has now?
Yeah, I think security and privacy go hand in hand, especially with the amount of investments that are being made and the fact that the AI data centers here are going to be targeted to process workloads, not just within the kingdom, but outside the kingdom. So within the kingdom, okay, there are the rules which have been defined by SDAIA and other regulators. But then when you start dealing with foreign countries, then you got to make sure that you have the secure export links to transfer the data. So that's quite important. And then safeguarding it with the commensurate security measures. And I think the security measures are both cyber and physical, which are important. And interestingly, AI again has a big role to play there because you can now use AI solutions to both enhance your physical security on site, but also the security which is offered online or on the cyber channels. So it's a very interesting dynamic, and one can't be done at the cost of the other. They both have to be done to ensure that you scale and you achieve the commercial objectives, but do it in a secure and reliable manner.
Steve, you want to add your thoughts, please?
I won't really add too much to that. I think maybe what I would say, we could talk about, making obviously sure, data is safely, securely managed locally, but we don't do it at the expense of being able to share insights. So data securely managed, governed, traceable, but the ability to share insights and to federate insights, that's going to be key. But also, as we sort of touched on, it's not just about cybersecurity. We've got to look at the whole security aspect. You have the cyber element of it. You have the physical element, the access. We were talking about this before we came in. And then you have the OT, you have the technology side of it. So yes, there is data information where we need to be careful. But these data centers are expensive equipment. They're potentially critical national infrastructure. So we also need to protect the equipment itself and the ability to cause potential damage or disruption, which we've seen if a cable gets damaged somewhere in the world, and the impact that can have on people's everyday lives, on how we function as a society. So just thinking secure by design, but both cyber, OT and physical all have to be considered equally as part of this discussion.
Thank you so much. So we discussed about what Gaurav started at the beginning of the panel, which is the topics, and he mentioned about the talented workforce. So, Mr. Kostas, regarding skilled technical talent remains a global constraint today, not in Saudi Arabia only, especially in data center and liquid cooling, which is a new technology. There is a big gap in the talented workforce regarding the cooling and the new technologies of the data center, which is growing very fast with AI as well. So what initiatives, education, public, private collaboration or technology partnerships are most urgent to build to future-ready data center workforce in Saudi Arabia, in Middle East, or in global way?
Let's start with the basic stuff. The International Energy Association, I read somewhere that predicts up to 2030, we're going to be missing 2 million skilled engineers. Now, if you go and check only Saudi Arabia has a privilege versus other countries, which is what? It is the population. The structure of the population in Saudi Arabia is a very young one. So if I'm not mistaken, again, I read this one, 64% of the country's population is in the area or below 32 years old. So the potential is there. Now, going back to skilled engineering, the country has to invest on the youth. The country has to find ways and avenues to create knowledge. And then it has another tricky point or a crossroad to pass, which is what? Electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, cybersecurity engineers, automation engineers, DCIM engineers are not enough. You just need to have a kind of a hybrid model, a hybrid engineer that when he enters a data center environment will understand from the physical security in the entrance what is happening in the security in the rack, what is happening in the power, the prediction of AI tools, how to utilize them, whom to call, why to do something, and then at the end, you have to have people that they can translate the data that are going to be produced from any system, in-house, outside, whatever. Someone needs to get this data and translate them in the correct way. So the country, I think, it has the potential. I have heard about programs like AZM from PIF. If I'm not mistaken, DataVolt is doing something, so I will just like to pass this to Jordi.
Yeah, thank you, Kostas. Frankly, this is something that's quite close to my heart. We're not only facing a skill shortage, we are also facing an aging data center operator population. When I started in data centers in 2010, I was the youngest facilities technician in my team. I moved to Saudi last year. In my last job before moving to Saudi, I was the second or third youngest in my team. Not much has changed. It does mean that there is a group of people right now that have been in data centers a very long time, that are very knowledgeable. We need to use those people, and they need to be mentors. Everyone has them in all our companies. We have people that have been here for a long time, and they need to be utilized. Next to keeping the data center up and running, they need to mentor young people. Now, who are these young people? Now, I'm proud to say that DataVolt has actually partnered with the EWA Academy here in Saudi Arabia, and we have 120 young Saudis in education at the moment, 50-50 boys and girls, studying either electrical or mechanical. These young students will come into our data centers and will then follow a second part of education together, developed with the Uptime Institute, the guy sitting in the back. And they will be shadowing actual engineers that have been in the industry for a while. So a talent pool is coming, but I haven't seen this effort from many companies. I've worked for many data center companies before. Every single company that I worked for complained about not having enough staff. But I don't see enough effort coming from data center companies to actually educate or approach colleges or offer internships. As an industry, we are also not very good in promoting data centers. Most people that ask me what I do for a living, I say I operate data centers. Are they call centers? What's a data center? Well, that's quite poor effort, right? Because all of us have a mobile phone, we all have a tablet, we all have a laptop. We all stream Netflix, we make online payments, And everything gets facilitated by data centers. Now, the fact that most people outside the data center industry don't have a clue about data centers is something that we have to look at ourselves for as an industry. How can we promote data centers? How can we get people to understand what data centers are, and why would you want to work in them? There's a lot of unemployment everywhere. There's people with very nice degrees that don't have work. You can come into a data center, reskill yourself, and you'll actually have a job. And it's a clean job as well. At least data center operations is. It is not like people who maintain cars. You see them working, always dirty, hard work. Operating data centers is not really hard work. It can be stressful at times, but it's an effort that we need to do as an industry, I believe, is we need to promote data centers. We need to make people aware of what data centers are, what you can learn, and we need to open up opportunities as well for people to grow within the industries. Succession planning, training people, engineers to become the next site manager to become the next regional manager, director, etc. And I think, it is something that we need to start sooner rather than later, and we all need to take those ideas back and look in our own companies and look at ourselves. How are we going to change this?
I would like to add one thing here. If someone would try to quantify the need, it might sound like for every existing engineer you have today, which is not specialized or categorized as data center engineer, you might need to have 1 to 10. So every engineer you have today, you have to have an apprentice of 10 times, 10 to 12. That's the ratio which is calculated today. What is the need tomorrow for operations? Because again, when we speak about knowledge, who has the knowledge today to run a high density cooling data center for 1 megawatt? What is the engineering process? What is the operational manuscript? What is the whole thing to support it? So people not only need to be educated, but they just need to take a leap forward for what is coming up. So I think Saudi has the potential. It's on them to work on it.
Yeah, I believe the same potential. Also, I agree with you. When you touch your mobile phone, you connect a data center. Actually, you connect more than one data center, many data centers. When you touch your tablet, you connect a data center. When you open your laptop, you connect a data center today. Actually, we are living with data centers, but how much it is affecting our life, it is how much is we are aware, it's another question. Whatever, Mr. Kostas, again, I want to ask you, the kingdom has made impressive strides in renewable integration in last years. So what next steps are required to achieve net zero carbon intelligent data center operations? Now we are going carbon emission and green energy more. So what is the Saudi Arabia roadmap in this for 2030?
So net zero or green is not a document. One friend told me that this is an algorithm. You cannot be net zero just by grabbing here and there. It's not like a cake, you just take the chocolate or the cream that you like and then you're satisfied. You have to eat the whole cake. So now today in Saudi, you have renewables which are coming from wind and solar. If you produce something, you have to consume it. Otherwise, you are not going to have 100%. Okay, so if you have 1 day consumption of the 1 week production of wind energy or solar, by no means you're going to go to 100, or even more than 80%. So you have to link the production with the consumption. That's the first thing. The second one is that where to invest and how. So you have the wind, you do have the solar, and what you need to do is that to synchronize these two sides, you have to work with the problem creator. Who is the problem creator today? AI. So if you have the need to create all this power to feed it, let's utilize it to resolve an issue. So you have to find out ways of how to establish a relationship between the data center who is consuming the energy with the producer which is the solar or the wind, and to have to neutralize production to consumption. There are other ways to do, but that's the one easy thing to approach. But electricity is not the only issue. To go to zero net is another source is what? Water. So you cannot utilize water and lose it. So you have to start thinking about reusing waste water. So is it a treatment? Is it a waste treatment? I don't know, but it has to be done. Then you have closed loop systems. We have to take advantage of them. Are we able to achieve 100% zero? I think not. Especially in Saudi, which is a very peculiar country with a huge desert, very high heat. In the center of the country, you don't have wave energy. Geothermy, is it really worth to invest? Because you don't need heat, you need cold. So, but there are ways, there are avenues that you can facilitate, you can take advantage. And instead of the 5-10% that you are today, we can reach to 60, 70, 80%. 100% might not be feasible, might be ideal, but there's no reason to waste and lose time in order to reach the 80%.
Thank you for your valuable comments. Stephen, regarding the latest question of our panel, how can Saudi Arabia position itself as the Middle East and North Africa benchmark for digital infrastructure excellence, balancing world-class scalability with local innovation and priorities?
Yeah, I'll keep it quick because I think we're almost at time. But I think Saudi Arabia is perfectly positioned. It continues to demonstrate time and time again. We talked about vision before. It's already on that journey. It's already starting to do it. I think the sustainability has been mentioned. These data centers are getting bigger. They're getting more power hungry. They're generating tremendous amounts of heat. So it needs to be scalable in a sustainable way. It has to. It can't just keep on producing the heat, the energy demands sort of exponentially. There has to be a way to improve efficiency. And there's many, many ways to do that, whether it be through design, optimization, or whether it be through how you're then optimizing it in use. So we've talked about some of those points. Another one is as well giving clear guidance, clear direction, standardization, so we don't reinvent the wheel every time. Best practice is shared, learning is shared. So when the investment is made, we're getting that maximum return on investment in a sustainable way. So I think that guidance is going to be key in standardization and the sharing of knowledge and information, which is what conferences and sessions like this is. And I've already learned a lot from the panel today as well. So it's been an absolute pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Ladies and gentlemen, we came to the end of our panel. I hope you enjoyed and you like it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to call. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that insightful discussion. We definitely learned a lot from you today.